See if I can figure this out with my screen.
Exactly, to see what they're doing on this topic, and we should visit each other's site.
Okay, and
I'd
I'm
love
gonna,
to see what the Steve's place is like, or Mary's, or whoever. I've gone into that, but not everyone.
Luis, I'm gonna try to get this, get everybody muted. I'm not seeing that. Okay, it worked perfectly before, of course.
Wonder why. Let's see. I think I got it.
Okay.
You guys see that?
Yep, perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Awesome. Let's see if we can keep this going. Well, thanks everyone for joining me today. Hopefully I can provide you all with some good information, some good stories, and help you understand who we are and what we do. I do want to start with a little disclaimer. I've never done an online presentation before or a PowerPoint. So if you guys can bear with me and we'll get this through, get through together. With that being said, my name is Luis Granados, also known as WEAZEL, if you ask all my homeboys over here in Canyon County. I am Executive Director of Breaking Chains Academy of Development. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization located in Nampa, Idaho. We serve at-risk youth in Canyon County by providing services and alternatives to not only deter them from gang and criminal activities, but also help them successfully transition into adulthood. To better help you understand who we are, I'd like to give you a brief history about Breaking Chains. First of all, Breaking Chains Academy of Development was formerly known as OGs BAD, which stood for Original Gangsters Basic Academy of Development. As you probably figured, the name was created by students who were gang affiliated, hence Original Gangsters. OGs BAD was founded by Steve Toronto in September of 2004. Steve founded this program with the dream of creating a family-type environment for at-risk youth to develop skills by providing education services, job skills training, and mentoring through recreational activities. The OGs BAD logo was actually created by a student in the program, Jesse Longoria, who was well known in Nampa. He designed the logo and added both the red and blue colors, which are the colors that signify the two major gangs that reside in Canyon County. This was done to show a kinship amongst gang members and welcome anyone who is ready to participate in the program, no matter where you're from. OGs BAD was lightly inspired after another organization called Homeboy Industries. Homeboy Industries is based out of Los Angeles, California, and is the largest gang intervention program in the world. The founder of Homeboy Industries, Father Greg Boyle, has done amazing work. I personally have read all his books and listened to many of his talks. I aim to achieve his wisdom and apply some of his philosophy when sharing my life with these youth. You'll hear me echo some of that philosophy today. I encourage you to look into his work. In February of 2016, Steve Toronto decided to retire along with the name OGs BAD. So in April of 2016, Breaking Chains Academy of Development was founded. The name Breaking Chains stems from the idea of breaking free from the self-destructive chains of addiction and criminal behavior. The logo was designed and created by a local tattoo artist, Alex Vasquez. He is a well-known artist in the community and is very well respected amongst gang members and gang affiliates because of his work. Although the name has changed, Breaking Chains maintains the same concepts and goals as OGs BAD. At the moment, we are a small operation made up of only 2 staff, including myself. I am currently the executive director and only full-time staff at the academy. Back in November of 2018, our academy was in a rough spot. The director at that time decided to step down, so with only $300 in our academy's bank account, I decided to step up. I was the only employee for the first year when I took over as director. Prior to becoming director, I was a tutor and a mentor for the academy for 6 years. Aisha Garza is my part-time tutor and mentor. She was actually one of my first students when I first started working at the academy. I saw Aisha's work ethic as she made her way through the program's education services, work skills training, and her participation in our recreational activities. She graduated from Breaking Change with her GED and HSC. Aisha herself, growing up around the lifestyle and having family members who are gang affiliated and dealing with addiction, is very familiar with the kind of adverse experiences our youth have experienced and are going through. When I was able to open up this part-time position, I had a lot of people who applied who were more than qualified. I had people apply who had degrees and certificates with all sorts of training. But there's things you can't teach through a college text, like building sincere, genuine relationships with our youth. I really believe that's where we thrive at Breaking Chains. Together, me and Aisha, we operate the program. Our daily duties range anywhere from being teenage babysitters, to janitors, to teachers, to even parents at times. In other words, it's truly the best job in the world. Now that you have a little history about Breaking Chains, I can address who we are and what we do. We are a 501c3, which means, of course, that we are funded through grants and donations. At the moment, grants have been our main source of funding, and we have been fortunate enough to operate off a grant from the Idaho State Police and another grant from the Brandt Foundation. Anyone who is familiar with the nonprofit knows how much of a roller coaster ride it can be when it comes to funding. In the past, funding has been an issue for us, and we have run into financial hardship. When I mention to people that I've gone months without pay in the past due to this hardship, the majority think I'm crazy. But anyone in this type of work knows that this isn't just work for us. This is our life. Every time we have endured hardship, it's a bittersweet feeling to see past students or their parents come in and ask what they can do to help. It's that very population that we're helping that want to help back in these tough times, but don't necessarily have the financial means to. Just in those simple actions, you can see the sense of community amongst our people. At the moment, we operate off a yearly $85,000 budget that allows us to basically operate at bare minimum. I constantly have the stress of looking for funding, and I hate that it takes me away from our narrative of serving the youth, but I know it comes with the territory, and I'll do whatever it takes to keep those doors open. We are located in the heart of the north side of Nampa. Now, anyone who's familiar with the north side of Nampa knows that this is a lower income area, which means this is where we're going to find the low income families and our single parent homes. That gets us to our target population. Our target population is at-risk youth, which is defined as a child who is less likely to transition successfully into adulthood. Our targeted youth consists mostly of teenagers ages 14 through 18, youth on probation or in juvenile drug court, high and low level offenders, high school dropouts, teen parents, youth in the foster care system, and anyone who is willing to walk in through those front doors. We maintain a good relationship and communication with probation officers, caseworkers, and any type of support system. Of course, communication is key when helping our youth achieve their goals. The bigger the support system, the less likely they are to fall through the cracks. I myself love to target youth who are gang affiliated. The reason for this is because I myself come from that background. To give you a better idea of some targeted population in Canyon County, I have a YouTube video that was actually created and uploaded back when I was running around in the streets. In this video, you'll see many of the people that I crossed paths with in those days. So I got a YouTube video that I want to show, but for whatever reason, the user who uploaded the video put kind of an obscene picture in the very beginning. It's nothing too crazy, but just giving you a fair warning. And let me know if you can hear that audio on it.
West side, Loma, east side, west side. There's like some. Together, you know, time to spend some time with my family. I don't even know how to act right now, you know. I get nervous when I'm in public. It's like, I just got out 3 days ago.
Yeah, straight up there, the gang calling me, sir. Straight up.
I've been terrified.
What's that like?
What's it like? Well, first I was like, I used to just trip out because I didn't like know what to do and stuff. But now I'm like, it's not that bad. But I don't know. Like I can't explain. It's just like you know what's going on at the time, but you really like you don't get like as shocked or like react the way you used to. You're not used to it. So now I'm just like, oh shit, another shot.
Here in Idaho.
Here in Idaho? Where
Yeah. Down the street from here, like
In
2
Caldwell?
blocks that way.
In
Dog.
Caldwell?
Yeah, in Caldwell. You know, if I go back home, I ain't gonna make it. I'm gonna jump right into the homies again. You know? Hey, what's up, listen? You know, and a cake and pick me up. Let's go get some blue cards.
What do you guys do?
We sell drugs. We party. You know, we try and be badasses.
Now everybody's shooting. Back then it was only a couple of us. Now everybody's just straight up. They're blasting. There ain't no. I've been talking about this for the last couple of years. There's no more wannabes. It's the wannabes that are doing the shooting. So how are they wannabe now? You know, and the same thing is that I believe the last few generations, they're exactly what I used to be, and what I used to be, they're living it. They're not. This generation is doing it at 100%. They're not holding nothing back. They're just going for it. I'm not saying they're not crying in jail once they're in jail, but I mean, out there in the streets right now, they're shooting first. They're not even talking. You know, and it's not. I'm not gonna say everybody's doing that, but there's a big enough problem to where there should be some awareness.
Does that scare you?
No,
Should it scare other people?
it should, especially if they have kids.
The reason I got into it is like I seen a bunch of friends doing that, hanging out with them. I was always with them. I never claimed, and then they told me I should claim, get into it, to jump in, whatever. And I didn't want to at first, and I finally gave in, and I did. And then been locked up 4 times in juvie, and then it's not my life. I don't want to do it anymore.
Like I said, the youngest person that I work with is a 3rd grader at elementary school. He already knew the enemies. What colors he needed to plan and what to avoid.
Most people that are in gangs don't really want to be. Once you put your foot in there, it's hard to sit in there. But inside you, you felt the same way I felt.
It's not that easy getting out. I mean, you can ease up a little bit, you stay out of trouble because it's all going to come back at you no matter what. You try getting out, you're going to have to get rushed out or end up in the casket.
And my kids, I used to say, I love my kids. I love them very much. When I was in prison, my son got raped. My daughter got molested. Those were heavy consequences. But I used to say, yeah, I love my kids. I love my mom. I love my dad. I love my sister. But I put myself in the consequences of going to prison for a lot of years, or YA, or whatever, correctional facilities like this.
This is a meeting house. We just found this when I popped a couple of my kids not long ago. They rolled on this one. Usually they spray paint, more out in the open. This is kind of a gang area. We found out once we popped them. We just got hit over the weekend too with some new stuff.
You represent That's your gang. How long have you been in the game? This is your cousin, the one that's scared of you? Are you scared that might be your picture one day? The main thing is a lot of mentoring, a lot of involvement of all walks of life. I'm talking about from upper class, middle class to poverty level. We all need to come together and
embrace each other and pay attention to these kids and pay attention to the clothing and the music that they're listening to, the movies that they're watching, because that's very serious. We got kids that are dressing like gang members that don't have nothing to do with gangs, and they're dead today. Boom! Another life taken too soon. Another mother had a funeral. And the pain is forever alive inside. Makes it hard to sleep.
So now that you know who we are and have an idea of who our target population is, I can let you know what our mission is.
Hey, Luis.
Yeah.
There were some people who would love to. The video lagged some for probably most of us in space. Wonder if we could send it out. Is that possible?
Yeah, I can grab that link and send it out maybe afterwards in an email. Would you be able to send
Cool.
it out or?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's do that.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep, no problem. Sorry about that.
It's the technology.
So our mission is to provide at-risk youth with tools and alternatives that will not only deter them from gang and criminal activities, but also help them successfully transition into adulthood. In order to accomplish our mission effectively, we execute three main objectives: education services, workforce training, and mentoring through recreational activities. We believe this combination provides the hope, skills, and support that are needed to encourage and motivate our youth for growth and self-discovery. I cannot stress enough that what we are pursuing here is not to change these youth. What we are pursuing here is covered and hidden by a calloused exterior. What we are pursuing is the greatness that they hold inside. It is our job to help them find it and expose it to the world until they can inhabit the heroes that they really are. Our education services. We provide youth with alternatives to the public education process. Our education services consist of a GED, HSC curriculum. Our curriculum allows youth to study at their own pace with one-on-one tutoring and in a relaxed setting. We guide students step by step in every way possible to help them achieve their goals of obtaining their GED and HSC. Just in case you're not quite sure what an HSC is, it's a high school equivalency. It's an actual diploma. A handful of years ago, you used to have to take an extra government test to achieve your HSC. Now, they've actually incorporated the government into the social studies exam. So not only do you receive your GED, you achieve your HSC as well, once you complete all 4 exams, which are science, language arts, math, and social studies. Also, we provide transportation to and from exams when needed. Donations from donors help cover exam costs when students are unable to acquire funds for testing. A lot of these donations do come from youth who have graduated from our program. It's always nice to see them come back and help out. This is proof that there is something bigger going on than just achieving your GED or HSC. Again, we're creating community and kinship amongst our students. These donations to cover exam costs are huge for our students because the majority of them do come from low income or single parent homes. And of course, they don't have the funds to pay for their education. Providing a relaxed setting is huge when trying to effectively help our students. We have different study areas throughout our location. Some students learn better alone, isolated, away from others. Others like to interact and be involved in a more group study session. We pay close attention to their strengths and weaknesses and apply it when coming up with their study plans. No two students are alike. We keep an open mind and welcome all learning styles. I must admit that there is some days where we don't do much work. When I see students engage in a productive conversation such as politics, religion, racism, and so on, I encourage the conversation. I think it's very important to have these real-life conversations, and which better place to do it in than amongst your peers and adults you trust. Our education services are year-round with open enrollment all year. We operate them Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. We believe these hours provide students with enough time to study without being overwhelmed. The ages we serve are 14 through 18, but the longer I do this work, the more I'm starting to see the younger and older ages needing our services. What I'm seeing a lot of is the parents of the students coming in and asking to see if they can get their GED and HSC as well. I really hope that's something in the future that I can implement, maybe some adult classes or something like that. Our graduates often come back to help tutor students with their GED studies. Of course, students feel comfortable asking for help when it's someone they know and they trust. So down here, if you take a look at this picture, the student in the white hoodie down here, he was getting tutored by one of our graduates. And then about a year later, he came back, and that's him up there in the gray hoodie, and he's actually helping tutor one of our other students. At the moment, we average about 3 diplomas every quarter. The goal is always to increase that number, but in our program, numbers is the last thing we're worried about. We are more focused on the life lessons that are taught throughout the journey. Of course, keeping track of numbers is a part of the game, especially when we have to report them for grant purposes. I personally wish that instead of asking us for how many GEDs we produced, they'd ask for the number of smiles, laughs, hugs, and memories we've created with these kids. I think those are the true accomplishments. When helping our youth achieve their GED and HSC, not only are they achieving a base of education, but also achieving a sense of accomplishment and self-worth. For many kids, getting their GED and HSC is one of their first goals that they reach. This is best expressed by one of my students, Jehu. Jehu was a sweet and respectful kid who was super shy. He was referred to us by his probation officer to complete his GED in order to get off probation. He would show up every morning with a great attitude and work ethic. Slowly but surely, we chipped away at his GED until a few months later, I was dropping him off at his last test. I don't know who was more anxious, me or him. After about what seemed like an eternity, I got the call to pick him up. The whole drive there, I was preparing myself, as I always do, to have that conversation just in case he failed. But that conversation wasn't needed. As soon as I pulled up to CWI, the doors flew open and he came out running and yelling, "I did it, I did it." And just like that, he wasn't a shy kid anymore. He was proud and full of confidence. He jumped in my car and we hugged for about 5 minutes. I was so caught up in the moment that I didn't realize I had let my foot off the brake and the car was slowly rolling towards other parked cars. I slammed the brake and we both laughed hysterically with tears in our eyes. It was about a week later that he received his diploma in the mail that I received a text message from Jehu. It was a picture of his diploma with a text message that read, "Wow, I've never felt this feeling before. I'm proud of myself." With that text alone, you can see that this is much more than just a GED that they're accomplishing. It's far beyond that. Our workforce training. Using community resources, we help and encourage youth to pursue on-the-job skills training. Job skills are important for our youth to become successful and productive members of our community. We have developed partnerships with the Nampa Housing Authority and Idaho Department of Labor that allows our youth to get on-the-job skills training. The Idaho Department of Labor has an amazing program called the WIOA program, which employs our youth full-time and allows them to continue their studies at Breaking Chains. They also provide funding that covers all exams, plus work-related costs such as clothes and gas vouchers. Was that Roger? Did you say something? Okay. The Nampa Housing Authority also provides our youth with on-the-job skills training. They have helped our youth complete community service projects for drug court and community service hours for probation. They have a wonderful group of maintenance guys over at Nampa Housing that not only teach our kids job skills, but they mentor them as well. They've helped our kids study for GED tests and even have helped them achieve their driver's license. Every year, our students and friends also participate in Nampa Housing's Resident Appreciation Day, where we help barbecue, serve food, and operate some of their activities for their residents. It's a nice way of giving back to the community and exposing our youth to community involvement. Our mentoring through recreational activities. We provide youth with mentoring to help navigate and educate them through the obstacles they face while on their journey to adulthood. One of the ways we find this to be most effective is through our recreational activities. We provide on-site activities such as billiards, computer lab, game consoles, ping pong, and our most popular attraction, our recording studio. Our recording studio allows youth to come in and produce and record their own music. Nowadays, it seems like every teenager is trying to be a rapper, so of course, it's easy to see why a recording studio is so popular. This recording studio acts as one of our biggest recruitment tools. Often we see kids come in and use our recording studio, and before you know it, they're asking about our education services and signing up. It's also a huge incentive for our students to attend daily, knowing that after class, they'll be able to partake in using the studio. One of my students, Ilian, would participate in using our recording studio. He was super talented, is super talented, and has a very positive message. I was in shock when I heard the final product of a song he was working on. A lot of these kids find music as an outlet to their frustrations or happiness. If you listen closely, you'll hear their testimony and get a peek into their world. With Elian, that was very much the case. I encourage you to closely listen to these lyrics and you'll hear his testimony. So I have a little video that I actually caught of him explaining why he wrote the song and what it's about. And then right after that, I have a YouTube video with the actual song. So I just encourage you guys to really pay attention to his lyrics because everything he's saying is absolutely true. So I really hope that it doesn't freeze up on you guys and you guys will be able to listen to it. So let's see.
Yeah, I wrote this song when I got baptized in November, I was really bad. I was in the streets, I was in gangs, I'm like 15 years old, I got a tattoo all like this, as that lady has a hey, but through the grace of God, I finally changed, He changed me, I didn't change myself. And thanks to Him, I can finally share my testimony and share what I've been through. And I wrote this song just to motivate others, to let them know that. Because if you know me personally, I was pretty bad. I was like, this house homeless for about 5 months. And I wrote the song just to motivate other people.
Yeah. Trying to take something negative and turn it into something positive, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Trying to change the game, but in a better way. I was homeless for 2 months, I didn't have a place to stay, but now I got it. Yeah, I got the knowledge, now I'm really falling, and I'm better getting started. Once I'm on, I'm never stopping. God gave me a plan and I'm on it. I'm running to the top, I'm not walking. God gave me a gift, and that is a state of mind. I was living in the lie before I found Jesus Christ, and no longer walking blind. I ain't got no worries, I don't feel it. Death is living, nothing's too much killing. But God is on my team, I'm always winning. I listen to the Lord cause He's the realest, the realest, the realest. Yeah, the Lord's the realest. Death is living, nothing's too much killing. But God is on my team, I'm always winning. I listen to the Lord cause He's the realest. Yeah, I was out there on the streets. I didn't even have a home. I didn't have nothing to eat. I didn't have no peace. Being locked up with the enemy. I had my family, but I was out there busy smoking weed. I was in the fit, but now I'm trying to do it different. Yeah, I got a better vision. Now I got better intentions. I was feeling so empty, but the Lord knew what was missing. I was feeling so angry, but in my heart is where the Lord is living. Now I'm out here rocking with the Lord. Now I know I'll never hit the floor. He saved me from a world of hate and pain. I was walking through the storm, but now He brightened up my day. I'm finally saved. I ain't got no worries, I don't feel it. Death is living, nothing's too much killing. But God is on my team, I'm always winning. I listen to the Lord cause He's the realest, the realest, the realest. Yeah, the Lord's the realest. Death is living, nothing's too much killing. But God is on my team, I'm always winning. I listen to the Lord cause He's the realest. Now I got the inspiration, yeah, I got the motivation. Yeah, the Lord defeated Satan, so I got back what was taken. Now I'm only moving forward because greatness is awaiting. The Lord is coming back, and His people who was taken. Jesus Christ is my savior, and my life is what is changing. And he fights all of my battles, doesn't matter what I'm facing. And I know that life is hard, but don't ever let your faith in. Just give your life to God. He'll take you to better places. Just know the struggle's part of God's plan. All the pain made me who I am. It made me stronger, it made me a better man. Don't ever quit, he's gonna take us to the promised land. I ain't got no worries, I don't feel it. Death is building up, it's too much killing. But God is on my team, I'm always winning. I listen to the Lord cause he's the realest, the realest, the realest. Yeah, he's the realest. Death is building up, it's too much killing. But God is on my team, I'm always winning. I listen to the Lord cause he's the realest. Yeah. Stay positive, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. God bless.
Hey, Luis, would you mind? I know I couldn't understand anything that the young man was saying prior to the song.
Okay.
Could you maybe quick summarize, what he was saying? And like you said, you can send it out, but
Yeah, I was afraid we are gonna have that problem. That I actually caught that video. He didn't know I was recording him. He was explaining the song, and I just started recording him, and so the audio was really low. But he was just kind of explaining why he wrote the song, talking about how he was homeless. I think he said for 5 months he was doing drugs, and then finally he said I think one of his buddies took him to church, and so he was talking about how he feels how God saved him, and it was just so he just wrote that song kind of as a positive message. He has a really good one too, but it's all in Spanish that I was going to post. But it's absolutely amazing. Super talented kids, super talented. All right, so let's see.
there was a comment that he was really good. So, well, I agree with you.
Yeah, definitely. Our offsite activities, our field trip activities are my favorite. This is where you really see their innocent selves come out. We have field trips to the movies, gym, restaurants, arcade, the Village in Meridian, downtown Boise, and even fishing trips. These offsite recreational activities are very important, not only for leisure and fun. They're also very important to expose our youth to the bigger picture, expose them to different social environments and activities, to show them that there is something much greater than their immediate group of friends and neighborhood. You'd be surprised how many of our youth who are ages 14 through 18 have never left Canyon County, let alone their neighborhood. Again, the majority of our youth are from low income and single parent homes where they do not have the means to do these types of recreational activities. For example, again, my boy Jehu. I love this kid. I took Jehu with me one day to run some errands downtown Nampa. I saw the way Jehu was looking around curiously, so I asked, "Have you ever been down here before?" He replied, "No." Now Jehu, being an 18-year-old and raised in Nampa, had never been to downtown Nampa. The only thing that separates where Jehu lives from downtown Nampa is the train tracks. All you have to do is go over an overpass and you're there. So when Jehu replied no, I then said, "So I'm assuming you've never been to downtown Boise." Sure enough, he replied, "No." So next thing you know, we're making our way to downtown Boise for lunch. I had the great idea of taking him to the top floor of a parking garage so that he could get a good view of all the buildings and the beautiful downtown Boise scenery. As we stood there on the top level of that parking garage, I saw his eyes focus on the Capitol building. He was examining the building as closely as I was examining his face. It's moments like this where their childlike innocence makes its way from their soul into the world. In that instance, it made its way into the world in the form of an expression and statement. He turned to me and with his eyes wide open and somehow with his voice in a combination of whisper and scream yelled, "Wow, the White House." Of course, this wasn't the White House, it was the Capitol building, and I corrected him. But just like that, you see and feel that innocence. that kid-like innocence that lies deep underneath and is usually overlooked and ignored due to trauma responses. Innocence is something that you can't help show your unconditional love to. We also use these outings to teach kids social etiquette, how to behave in restaurants, how to tip your waiter and waitress, and so on. We've been out to eat at restaurants where I could hear the kids whispering amongst themselves, "Whoa, everything on the menu is above $10. We were at a Mexican restaurant once when one of the students ordered a cheeseburger. I didn't get it. Why in the world would you order a cheeseburger at a Mexican restaurant? When I asked him why he'd ordered a cheeseburger, he replied, "Sorry, I didn't want to order anything that was too expensive." Even with knowing that, of course, we would cover the bill, he decided to act so selfless. At the end of the day, it's truly these kids that I need to be more like. We also use these recreational activities to connect with these kids and have real life conversations with them. It's important to educate these kids. And when I say educate, I don't necessarily mean degrees and diplomas, although those are very important. I'm talking about teaching them how to think, not what to think, but how to think. It's when a person becomes educated that they grow a wider perspective of the world. With this wider perspective come alternative positive decisions to these choices and circumstances that they're used to being in. By applying these three objectives, education services, workforce training, and mentoring through recreational activities, we are providing the hope, skills, and support that are needed to help navigate our youth through their journey of life. Again, what we are doing here is not trying to change our youth. We are here to empower and help them discover that greatness that they hold inside. Now, you must remember that these youth are all unique cases with their own unique adverse experiences and from all sorts of environments. There is no cookie cutter way of approaching the issues that we are trying to address amongst our youth. We must take into account that they all respond differently to authority, social cues, and environments. We must first learn their personalities and build genuine relationships with them for our objectives to be effective. Many times a student will come in and just sit down and fall asleep with his head in his arms, showing no interest to be there or participate. They clearly don't want to be there, but that's okay because they are there, and that's already half of the work. Now it's my job to peel back those layers and get them to trust me. Not only to trust me, but also create an environment and program that these kids want to be in and participate in. It brings me the greatest joy when students stick around after class to hang out, because I know I'm providing something that makes them want to be there. Of course, that's when these services are most effective, when they want to be there. So if you were to ask me again, what do you do at Breaking Chains? I say, we build relationships. One of the most powerful medicines we have is love. And the vehicle in which that love is delivered is relationships. Yes, our education services, work skills training, and recreational activities gets them through those doors. But nothing would get done without those relationships. We can only move at the speed of trust. So without that trust or relationship, nothing will get done. But once those two things are established, sit back and watch the greatness transpire. Building relationships is something I believe can't be taught through a college textbook. And building relationships is where Breaking Chains thrives. These are just a handful of things that come to mind that we apply when building relationships. Your list can look completely different, but these are some of the ones that just came to mind when I interact with these kids. Fragile minds and fragile hearts. We have to remember that these kids are living in the margins with different traumas and different trauma responses. There's not one specific curriculum we can apply to all of them. We must keep an open mind and remember that they are all unique case-by-case individuals, transparent and authentic. It's important to be yourself. I actually had a kid come in and sign up, and I worked with them for a handful of months.
Everybody mute themselves, please. Thank you.
So I actually had a kid come in, sign up for our education services. And he was with me for a handful of months. And once he graduated, got his GED and HSC, he told me, you know what? When I first showed up, I wasn't too sure about the academy or you. But that first day I was there, I heard you say fuck. And after that, I knew I'd love this place, and I did. So it's important to be yourself. The students will see it, and they will feel it for sure. 100% honesty and respect. You must always be honest with them, even in tough situations. Respect is a must. Respect and loyalty are highly valued by our targeted youth. It is important to show that honesty and respect if you expect it back. I have your back. Speak their language. Those two go together. Reassure them that you're on their side, that you are there for them and their best interest. Don't be afraid to call out injustices you see that are being done to them. Protect them and love them at all costs. Seek to understand before you seek to be understood. Listen. Those two go together as well. These kids have plenty of people around them constantly telling them what to do or what to think. From parents to probation officers, it is important to listen so that we can get an idea of their emotional state and figure out how we can cautiously extend our help to them. Compliments and reassurance. We must reinforce what we know. And what we know is that they have that greatness inside of them already. Physical touch, high fives, pats on the back, and hugs are crucial for real connection. You'd be surprised how many of these kids' eyes tear up and how emotional they get after they receive a hug, especially the kids in the foster care system who are in boys' homes or girls' homes. Yeah, they might have a roof over the head, food on the table, but that's only half of it. How far can these kids really get without that love and nurture that is a basic human need? That physical touch one has been tough, obviously, because of all the social distancing kind of going on. When we were able to open up the academy, of course, following all the guidelines, it's just so strange to not be able to give a high five, a pat on the back, or even, just put my hand on their shoulder while I help them with the study. And it made me realize personally how much I need to express myself through touch, not just verbally. So it's just been real tough to kind of get accustomed to that. We're making our way through it. We do like the high fives, not touching, or the quarantine hugs and all that stuff. So we're making it work for now. Positive energy, smile, laugh. These kids come from all types of adverse environments. The last thing they need is to be around more negativity. These kids are either connecting through trust or distancing through distrust. Before I walk into our doors every morning, I take a deep breath and dedicate my whole self to these kids. It's all about spreading good vibes and energy. So there's an ultimate question in this line of work, which is, if this is just work and not your life, what are you doing? Because if this is just work for you, I really believe you're causing more harm to already trauma-affected lives, and that's the last thing we want to do. So I'm sure you're wondering who the hell I am and why I think I'm so qualified, and maybe I'm not. I mean, I am an ex-gang member, convicted felon, and only have my GED, but I am an expert in my reality. Not only was I one of these kids, I believe I still am. Deep down, beneath this thin layer of decency that I've created, lies that troubled kid. My parents, both immigrants from Mexico, come from a culture that only knows work, work, work. No, I never had to worry about not having a roof over my head or not having food on the table. But when your parents work 6 to 7 days a week, 10, 11, 12 plus hour days to provide for your family, you're pretty much left to fend for yourself. I was 7 years old when my parents were having a get together at our house. I came running around the corner to find a bunch of neighborhood kids beating up on my brother, who was 10 years old at the time. I stood there in shock, not able to move, not able to make a sound. Tears filled my eyes as I watched, completely helpless and terrified. After about a minute, the strangest thing happened. They stopped beating on him and they helped him up. Then they congratulated him with hugs and handshakes. And just like that, he was a part of the neighborhood gang. It was only about 2 weeks later when there I was getting kicked around like a soccer ball. And just like that, I was a part of the neighborhood gang. Now, I admit that at that age, we were mostly just little knuckleheads up to random mischief who claimed to be a gang. But that quickly changed as I made my way through middle school and high school. That's when the real violence and criminal activity started. I would look all around me, and gangs is all I saw. It's all I knew. It was my normal. If you were Mexican or Mexican American, the question wasn't, are you in a gang? The question was, what gang are you from? I didn't find it strange that I was carrying a gun at 16 for protection. I thought prison and death due to drugs or gang violence was just the way it was for us. Throughout the years, I saw my friends pass away or head to prison due to this lifestyle. I found myself in constant gang fights and risking my life for this cause. So when a handful of times I found myself dodging bullets from rival gang members, I didn't think it was anything abnormal. I remember bullets whizzing by so close to my head that I could feel the heat off the bullets. I believed it was just a matter of time before I became one of those statistics. I didn't welcome the consequence of this lifestyle, but I also didn't let it deter me. Again, it was my norm. So at 19 years of age, when I was standing in a courtroom facing 15 years in prison, I wasn't surprised. I had been arrested for selling a gun to a gang acquaintance, and he used it in a bank robbery. As I sat in that jail cell all those months awaiting my fate, something happened. At first, I just thought, here we go. Now it's my turn to do this prison thing. As the months passed and I sat in that cell reflecting on my life, I realized something. I wasn't like the majority of the guys I was surrounded by in here. I also had something that all my other friends who had passed away or gone to prison didn't have. I had OGs BAD. I had Breaking Chains. I had these services. See, I walked into OGs BAD when I was 15 years old and have been involved ever since. I went through their education services, work skills training, and was surrounded by their mentors who never gave up on me. Although I didn't completely snap out of the gang lifestyle when I was participating in the program, they watered that seed that was deep down, hidden, and covered by a fear of being vulnerable, a frustration of always feeling unsafe, and a lifestyle that I thought I was stuck in. I remember something Steve Toronto had told me when I got my HSC at 17 years old. He looked at me straight in the eyes and said, "You did it. Now you can be or do anything in this world." That was the first time in my life anyone had ever told me that. At that moment, I thought to myself, man, this old white dude is crazy. But now, sitting in that cell, I was thinking maybe there was something to that statement. I sat there for days and months, hour after hour, finally concluding that this didn't have to be me. This wasn't me. The day finally came, and there I was standing in the courtroom, legs shaking, sweat building on my brows, and barely able to put words together when I was given the opportunity to speak. My voice cracked and tears filled my eyes as I spoke. I've never felt so vulnerable in my life. The judge would stare at me, then down at some papers, then back at me. Finally, she spoke. She cited that I did have a base of education and potential to go to college. Also, that I had plenty of work skills and experience that would allow me to succeed in the workforce. She also acknowledged all the letters my mentors had wrote on my behalf. For those reasons, she refused to give me the prison sentence that was being recommended. She gave me an opportunity to redeem myself. So after about a year, I walked out of jail. That day, my brother picked me up and asked, "Where do you want to go eat? I'll take you anywhere." I just replied, "Take me to OG's BAD." And he did. I walked into OG's BAD again, just like I did for the first time when I was 15. There I was, straight out of jail, and in the same clothes I had been arrested in a year before. There everyone was, with smiles and hugs to greet me. But most of all, there was hope. That was the day I took my first honest steps towards bettering myself, and here I am now. Sometimes I wonder, what if those doors weren't open? Where would I have found my hope when I most needed it? Just because I'm older now and have a fancy title doesn't mean I have it all figured out. I still struggle daily with triggers from my traumas and have to constantly correct myself. I still deal with anxiety and depression caused by traumatic experiences. When I enter a room, I know there's a bunch of assumptions that are made of me that I must overcome. I look around paranoid, wondering if there's anyone in here who wants to humiliate or hurt me. But this isn't about me. This is about the future leaders of our community, our kids. These kids are the true heroes, waking up every day in their adverse environments and facing adverse experiences that the majority of us will not survive. So when you see them walking around with a chip on their shoulder, challenging authority, hey, maybe rightfully so. I challenge you to, instead of judging them, to try to understand the language of their behavior. Don't get me wrong, this isn't a sad story. This is a story about resilience. But with resilience comes a harsh reality. As for myself, I still maintain a strong support system made up of older mentors from all walks of life. I also attend counseling every week to help me organize and deal with my emotions and thoughts. I will continue to work hard on this journey, and I refuse to give up. So to my little homies, remember that you can be or do anything in this world. I'm an executive director of a nonprofit organization. So don't let your past define you. Know that every beginning is shadowed by its end, and anything that's amazing or interesting came from chaos. So Roger, I see that we're kind of running down on time, and I want to respect everyone's time. So if you want to go ahead and end it there, and I can put out my contact info, or if I can answer a few questions if we have time.
Yeah. So Luis, if you will send me those, videos too, so I can send those out to folks, and then we'll have the recording of this up tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, if people wanna, we got a few minutes. So if anybody has comments, incredible. Thank you for sharing your story.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Roger, you cut out.
Oh, there we go.
Luis, I was just wondering, what's your biggest need right now apart from funding?
Oh, well, I mean, we're always just donations as far as keeping our fridge full. A lot of these kids do come in and the first thing they go to is the fridge, which obviously shows that they're needing to eat breakfast. And so, yeah, just keeping our fridge stocked. We also have a closet where we keep hygiene products. So we keep those stocked just in case. And also clothing, just kind of, t-shirts here and there, pants, shoes, stuff like that. We just keep anything like that on deck just in case one of the kids need something.
Luis, this is Jean.
Hi, Jean. How's it going?
Good. I just want to tell you, I am so proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Don't give yourself enough credit. Your story is so impactful, and the hope that you're inspiring in all of these kids, they find through seeing the resilience in you. So well done, my friend.
Thank you so much, Jean. I appreciate it. So yeah, here's all my contact information. We have our address, email. There's a phone number on there. Feel free to reach out for whatever reason. Send me an email, give me a call, text message.
Rogers, this is Taryn. Rogers, I can hear him in the office behind me, and he's trying to talk, but for some reason it's not coming through. Luis, you've got some great comments. Thank you for sharing your story. Everyone thinks this is amazing. And Roger says, sorry, his sound has bugged out. So on behalf of ICTF, thank you so much for doing this. Yeah, please follow up with the links that you said you'd send Roger, and everyone, Roger will send those out to you. Did anyone have any questions before we log off? All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Luis.
No problem. I can't hear you.